So today I'm going to be reviewing the Samsung Galaxy S23 FE, and this phone is extremely overlooked. It's one of the most overlooked phones of the year, and it's especially overlooked when you look at the prices that it's been selling at recently. So is it worth buying for you though, and should you buy it over the Galaxy S23 or even over the Galaxy S23 Ultra? Well, I'm going to let you know in this full review. So with all that being said, let's check out the Galaxy S23 FE. So a lot of you out there, you're looking to save a lot of money, and not everyone is looking to buy the latest and greatest. I know there's a lot of flashy phones out there, there's a lot of great foldable phones, but some of you just want a very fast phone with a great display, and you don't care about having the absolute best. You might just want a very, very good device that's very reliable and affordable. And if you're someone out there looking for a good affordable device that's going to have amazing performance, an amazing display, and a lot of great extra features, I really think that this phone is a phone that you want to look at, and especially when you consider the price. So I do get this phone did release at $599, and that's why some people were a little bit upset. They were thinking that the price is a little too high, but that's mainly because it released right alongside the Google Pixel 8, and the Google Pixel 8 is a great phone. It's a really, really good value. So some people were sleeping on this phone, but this phone has gone on sale since then. It's gone on sale quite a bit. I've seen it for $550. I've seen it for even $400 as far as the holiday sales. So if you see this phone for $400, even if you see it for $500 or $550, I really think a lot of you should consider this phone, because if you look at the display, if you look at performance, if you look even at the cameras, you're going to get amazing things out of this phone in all of those departments. The only thing that you're going to have to deal with is a minor compromise compared to the best phones out. But if you're willing to deal with some very, very small compromises, you're going to get a great device and you're going to save a lot of money. And it really starts with the design. So if you look at the design, you're going to see it does feel premium, it does look premium. This does feel like a really nice glass back, and even if there is some plastic involved, sometimes they throw a little bit of a unique glass stick on the phone. Whatever the case, this does feel like amazing glass, and it does feel very, very premium. The phone also feels fairly lightweight, and if you look at the cameras here, you're going to see that you get a similar setup to the Galaxy S23 lineup. It doesn't look all that different, and that is not a bad thing. It's got a really nice design to it, and sure, if you look at the front, there are some very minor bezels, but again, those bezels are going to be fairly small and honestly not that big of a deal, especially for those of us that throw a case on our phones anyway. Now I know this phone doesn't have an SD card slot, but at least it does have 128 gigs of storage, and that's not too bad. And when you look at the front of the phone, I will say it does have a really nice fingerprint sensor. Now it's not an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, it is an optical sensor, but it's still very fast. In fact, it's one of the fastest fingerprint sensors that I've ever used, so I really like it, and it's honestly pretty reliable too. So if you compare this to something like the Google Pixel 8, I think this fingerprint sensor is much better, it's much faster, and my hands, they do get pretty dry. Now I will say, I'm not in love with the placement of the fingerprint sensor. It is actually towards the bottom of the display, and I do normally prefer the sensor being a little bit higher. But other than that, it's been a very good experience, and it's a worthwhile compromise. Like, it's not even something I'm gonna notice on an everyday basis. And it's the same thing when we look at the display. It's a very gorgeous AMOLED display. It has a 2340 by 1080 resolution, and it's a 6.4-inch screen. So if you're looking at the regular Galaxy S23, this phone is a little bit larger than that, but it is a little bit smaller than the Galaxy S23 Plus. Now this phone, of course, does have 120 Hz, so it is very, very smooth as far as the scrolling, and it does have 1450 nits of peak brightness. So the colors look extremely accurate, and whenever I'm watching basic entertainment, whenever I'm watching YouTube, I find that the display really pops and the colors look really, really good. So I'm not too mad that I don't have the display of the S23 Ultra or even the S23 Plus. Like, I think this display is just ever so slightly worse than those displays, and it just looks really, really good. good for your average person. I don't think your normal person is going to think it's bad because it's not a significant compromise. And when we look at performance, you're going to see this isn't half bad either. It does have a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor. Now I understand that processor, it's not quite as good as the 8 Gen 2. I understand it's a little bit older, and some of you might be a little worried about that, but the truth is, this phone feels just as fast as the Galaxy S23 Ultra. I don't even notice any difference in my day-to-day usage. So I'm going between my social media apps, I'm opening up ESPN or YouTube, and whenever I'm scrolling around this phone, whenever I'm switching between apps, this phone does it flawlessly. It does a tremendous job. So sure, it doesn't have the latest and greatest processor, but I only think about 3 or 4 or maybe 5% of users. Those might be the only people who are actually going to notice. Like if you're gaming on this phone, you can game on almost every game on higher settings. So I didn't notice a significant impact whenever I was gaming on this phone, but some people might actually play some games that push their phones to the limit constantly. And if that's you, maybe you are going to want a better processor. But this phone is for those people who really just want a great all-around experience and they don't care about the latest and greatest. If you're someone who doesn't care about having the latest Snapdragon, if you don't game all the time on the highest settings, if you just want something that's going to fly around everything in the menus, it's going to be able to fly around your basic stuff. If you want something that's going to actually push gaming to the limit and still do a pretty good job, as long as you're not worried about the absolute best graphics all the time, you're going to find this phone is going to be more than enough for you. It's got a tremendous display that absolutely looks great. It's got great performance and it has very good cameras as well. Now the cameras, again, aren't up to the Galaxy S23 Ultra, but why would we compare this phone to a phone that costs like $1,200 as far as its retail price? That's a little absurd, to be honest, because you're going to find this phone around $500 depending on when you buy it and depending on where you buy it. And for $500 or for $450 or for $550, whatever price you find this phone at, you're going to find that compared to other devices around that price, this is going to be one of the best all-around phones that you can get. So if I'm taking pictures of my kids, for example, this does a really nice job, and I would say the cameras are very similar to the Galaxy S22 or the Galaxy S23. It has a regular 50 megapixel lens, and it does have 2 extra lenses as well. It has a telephoto camera and it has an ultra wide camera, but overall you're not going to get great zoomed in shots like the Galaxy S23 Ultra. So if you have to zoom in and get a video from like all the way across a stadium or something for a concert, you're not going to get the best video with this. But if you're just trying to take everyday photos and everyday videos outside, if you're trying to take some great photos of your kids or great photos of nature, or maybe you're trying to take some video and you're trying to get really good video quality, you're really going to get that in this phone. No, it's not flagship level, but again, that's the point of this phone. It's not meant to be the absolute best, but if you look all across the board, it's going to be almost the best in every area. And there's not really any significant compromises. It is only 25-watt charging, and it does have wireless charging at least, that's a bonus. It has NFC, it has water resistance, and when you look all across the board on this phone, you're going to see this is a very good phone to buy. Is it for you? I think it really depends. Are you someone that needs the absolute best? If that's you, I think you should look at the best phones out, like the Google Pixel 8 Pro. I think you should look at the Galaxy S23 Ultra, or even an iPhone if you are that type of person, the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Those are going to be some of the best phones out. If you want a unique form factor, sure, try a foldable phone, and there's a lot of great options as far as the Galaxy Z Flip 5 and the Galaxy Z Fold 5, but those phones are going to be so expensive. If you're someone out there who doesn't care about the latest and greatest, you don't care about the most expensive, and if you're trying to find a phone around $500 that's just like an all-around champ, this is definitely going to be it. Now, if you see this neck and neck with the Google Pixel 8, I think it's going to be very close depending on who you are and what you want. This does have some extra things like Samsung DeX, and I know some people like that. It basically turns your phone into a little laptop and you could plug it into a monitor, and there's a lot of great things to like about that. The Google Pixel 8 though, it has a lot of cool AI features, and I really think that that's going to really draw people in. I think it's a little bit better with voice dictation, with call screening and all those things. And I do think the Google Pixel 8 will take a little bit of better photos. But when I look around around, I do see the Google Pixel 8 does cost a lot more than this phone. Like when all those great sales were going on, I was seeing the Google Pixel 8 around $550, but I saw this as low as $400. So I would expect that as phones go on sale, I would expect better sales on the Galaxy S23 FE. And when you're saving a lot of money, I really do think that a lot of people, especially those people who prefer Samsung phones, I think that's going to make this a very good phone to recommend. And if you're out there trying to recommend phones to family members who are just looking for a great overall experience, but they don't want to spend a ton of money, they don't want to buy a flagship phone for $1,000, I think this is going to be a very solid recommendation. Plus, I honestly really like the colors and I like the look of this phone. But it's not perfect. I think some of you are going to want a little bit better, and that's just fine. And for $600, I do think that maybe if you see it at full price, there might be some other options like the OnePlus 11. I think that's really nice. I think the Nothing Phone 2 is great. I think the Google Pixel 8, all of those phones are going to be very, very similar as far as value to this phone. And you might actually want to lean into some of those, maybe get a little faster charging speeds or a little better camera with the Pixel 8. But whenever you see this phone on sale for any price, or if you just like Samsung phones altogether, I would not hesitate at all to recommend this phone to you. For $500, for $550, even for $450, this phone is a very solid buy, and I would definitely recommend it as long as you're the right person who is willing to make some very minor compromises. Hopefully this review has helped you out. If it has, please give this video a like, give a sub to my channel. It would really mean a lot, I'm telling you. And also check those links in the description. If you are looking to buy a phone, or maybe looking to buy this, I will have all the latest sales there, and there's a lot of great trade-in deals even on the Samsung website. So thank you so much for watching this video. Check out some more content if you get a little bit of time, and I hope you have a great day, and I really hope you enjoy your week.